Hello people, it's Michaela Valletta, also known as the Renaissance Amazon. I hope you all are doing well today. This is my second IG Live of the day. I am recording this on a separate camera for YouTube. So if you don't know me, you're not familiar with me, I'm a nutritionist, I am a trainer, and I'm also a dancer, okay? I've been dancing my entire life, and I'm from New York City, okay? So I say these things to say, because I say these things as an intro to what I'm about to talk about. So I want to have a brief discussion about some hypocrisy in the pole dance world, okay? So a lot of you may know that I have been pole dancing, 2020? Probably for like 6 or 7 years now. I've been teaching pole for about 6 years, 5.5, something. And I also study a lot of different dance forms, okay? And the thing about the pole dance, world, and I did a video on this a while ago, and it got deleted with my previous YouTube page. But I feel like, pole dance has become this big fitness craze, which is great and amazing. But I feel like a lot of the tricks and doubles tricks and stuff that the pole dance world uses, they got from black strippers, okay? The pole dance world has evolved, so there are tricks that the pole dance world has invented, but a lot of the base pole tricks were invented by black strippers. Now, if I have anybody out here who's listening, who's a stripper expert, who's been going to strip clubs since the 90s, who's been to black strip clubs and has been to white strip clubs and Asian strip clubs, can you please tell me if white strippers and Asian strippers were doing those crazy tricks that black strippers were doing, like dropping head first and 20 feet above ground, or one girl standing on another, or all the crazy tricks that they did, that black strippers do. It is my knowledge that white strippers and Asian strippers and others were never doing those things, right? The pole dance world, has an amazing way of teaching. I am an instructor, and so the way I was taught and the way I teach, there are certain progressions. You get spotted. It's very safe, as safe as it could be, so you don't break your neck. A lot of the moves in the pole are super dangerous. So I've always had a lot of respect for black strippers for inventing that stuff. They didn't have anybody teaching them anything. They didn't have lessons and people spotting them, okay? They were teaching each other stuff that could have killed them, okay? Or paralyzed them. To me, I see pole tricks and all of that, the real art of pole dance, like the tricks and all that, I see that as the same as what breakers were doing in New York in the 70s when they just started spinning on their head on concrete. But they didn't take yoga 101. They didn't take headstand 101. No, they didn't have any of those classes. They didn't take gymnastics. So I'm like, it's amazing if you do that and you did have lessons. But if you do that and you didn't have lessons, that's even more of an applause for me and more props. And I believe that respect should be given where it's due. Okay? Also, there's a history in the world, not just in America. There's a history in the world of white people wanting to take credit for black art, for black dance, and for black music, okay? I feel like in America, we are pretty strong against preventing that from happening, even though it has happened with country music. A lot of people are unaware of the fact that country music comes from black people, black Americans. It was invented by us. But people do know that jazz comes from us, and that hip-hop comes from us, and that the blues comes from us, and Chicago step, But the Lindy Hop swing, which comes from Harlem, now if you look it up, you see all white people doing it. But it was a black dance. When you go to Latin America, all the cool dances in Latin America come from black people, but a lot of times they put white faces on it. My dad used to always point that out when I was a kid with Gloria Estefan. He would say that music doesn't come from people who look like her. That is Afro-Cuban music. And Afro-Cubans are Afro. They're black. The morena y negra, okay? They're not like mestizo looking like J-Lo and Gloria Estefan. Those are not the people who started that music. So Latin America, a lot of things are whitewashed, and the black people there don't have the power to stand up and say, this is our shit. Like in Cuba, that's the only Spanish-speaking country I've ever been to where I saw all black salsa bands. Everywhere else you go in Latin America, the bands are very whitewashed. That includes Puerto Rico. That includes everywhere. Colombia, everywhere, right? So the thing is, I was on IG the other day. There was an IG page, Pole Dance Nation, right? And there was a video of this white girl, and I don't care that she's white, I'm just There's a woman, let me just say she was a woman, doing some pole tricks on the pole on a train, right? And the ad said, what would you do if you saw her? Would you join her? And I wrote, no, I wouldn't join her. I would leave it to the people who are experts at that, right? And again, I'm from New York, right? And so we have a strong tradition, which no city has, and I believe New York invented it, of people dancing on the trains. And when they dance on the trains, they flip off the walls. They use the pole to do impossible acrobatics. They using the ceiling, and it's really amazing. And to me, it's like an offshoot of breaking. It's not breaking, you know. But back in the 70s, people weren't doing this on the train, you know. So this is a unique style that comes from now. And the people in the pole dance world sometimes try to do little cute things and tricks and stuff like that. But okay, let me say something else. The pole world also has competitions, okay? So there's a huge competitive part of the pole world where they do all these pole competitions. And what happens at a pole competition? You get judged. The pole world puts out so many shirts. Like if you go to like a pole conference or a pole studio, you see a lot of pole dancers wearing shirts that say things like, you know, kind of bragging on the fact that they're pole dancers, like, you know, like my workout is better than yours, or, you know, like, you know, I'm a cooler mom because, you know, like all these things, or one thing will say point your fucking toes. There's this t-shirt that goes around that says point your fucking toes, because in the pole dance world, they say that you're supposed to point your toes all the time, which is a ballet aesthetic, which is a European aesthetic. In African dance, if you take any kind of African, Afro-Caribbean, you don't point your toe, it's a flex foot. When you watch how black pole dancers dance and the way that they invert, they don't invert the way that you're taught in the pole world, where your legs have to be straight and has to be slow and controlled. That's hard to do when you have booty. Very hard to do when you have booty. It's like when I look at how black pole dancers, black strippers attack the pole, I'm like, that is kind of what works for me because of how my body is built. But in the pole world, they consider that to be ugly. And if you were to do that in a pole competition, they would penalize you for it. People in the pole world have no problem walking around with shirts talking about how the workout is better than yours, how they're cooler than your girlfriend, how, you know, point your toes, all this stuff, which is judgmental. And I never liked when I saw pole dancers have shirts on acting like their workout was better than somebody else's, because being in shape is specific to that thing. You could be a pole dancer all day, but can you jump high? Can you run fast? I'll be in pole classes with people who I'm like, their legs look flimsy as hell. I'm like, I bet you I can jump over this person. My agility is probably better than this person. My explosiveness, I can jump. I got hops. Get on a basketball court with me. I bet you this person wouldn't be able to get a rebound. So your skills unique to that particular sport. You can't act like because you do one thing that you're better than everybody else, or your workout is better than everybody else, or you're stronger than everybody else. I never liked the fact that the pole world made shirts like that. And the pole world, it's all of a sudden like now because white people are, you know, made pole dance cool, now it's acceptable, right? And so the thing I don't like is the fact that we often have to go off of their standards. So when I made a statement saying, you know, on this page that no, I would not join the girl in, I would not join in with her on the train, I would leave it up to people who were experts at it. I got attacked by like 100 pole dancers who were like, oh, you're putting down women and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, I'm saying, like, just like in a pole competition, New York is competitive. Hip hop is competitive. You know, like in New York, if you're doing anything, our street performers are on point. If you're doing some shit in New York, there's no half stepping. If you're doing some shit in New York, that means you're amazing at the shit. And if you're going to perform on the trains and you're going to do some train shit, you need to be dope. The girl was doing some moves like she was in pole class. Like, it was conditioning. What she was doing was not easy, but was it super entertaining? No, not to me. But she's not being from New York. Maybe it's entertaining to somebody from Idaho, you know, or you're from some small town. But to me, if you're going to dance on the train and do some pole shit, you need to really do some dynamic shit. I'm not impressed by that. And first of all, art is subjective. And I feel like when you ask a question, you can't get mad when you get the answer. Like, people ask questions, the girl asked the question. Now, people ask questions and get mad when they can't dictate the answer to you, you know. Fortunately for me, I think for myself, you know. I do believe if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. I do believe that, except if you were asked. So if you were asked, if somebody asked me and I tell them the truth, it's like, you know, why do you get mad at it? Now, the fact that everybody attacked me for that, and I'm thinking to myself, all of a sudden the pole world wants to act like, oh, you guys are so non-judgmental, but yet you have pole competitions where there's all these rules about what you can't do and how you invert and how you have to point your toes, because if you have an African aesthetic in your dancing, it's ugly. And, you're sitting there getting judged to death by, who's the pole champion and blah, 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 blah. So I'm saying that when it comes to train polling, I feel like if you're going to do some shit, you need to be amazing, and that didn't cut it. What she did look like practice, and everybody's getting mad. It's like, yeah, no. See, one thing about me, I'm not going to suck up to any group of people, because a lot of industries can be cliquey, and the pole world can be cliquey too. And I'm also a critical thinker, and I'm going to analyze the situation. I will check myself if I'm wrong. I don't believe I'm wrong. I think that the pole world, I also think there's been an ignorance of black strippers and their contribution to this whole thing. And I've been waiting for that, because I see all these Asian, European pole dancers all around the world like, oh, we're doing doubles, and they're imitating what you saw some strippers do in Magic City, and they're not even doing it as well, okay? Because black strippers will do these moves, and they'll be like bopping their head, okay? Which makes it so much harder. Or they want to be in a headstand, twerking in a headstand. You know how hard it is to twerk in a headstand? You know how hard it is to twerk and then to do a headstand? Both of those are equally hard. Now, to combine it and twerk in a headstand, that's some amazing shit. And nobody else is doing that. Other groups of people will do one or the other. Or they'll do this move and then that move. And it's like, I don't see where the credit is being given. Yes, now, in 2020, you have white strippers and Asian strippers doing tricks and stuff in the pole. I mean, in the strip club. But that's probably because they learned it in pole class. So, correct me if I'm wrong. If there's anybody out there who... Oh, that's the other thing. So, when I had said this and the woman got mad, what happened was... This is what happened. She said to me, well, black strippers didn't invent tricks. And I said, well, that's like saying... So when she said that, I was like, well... And she tried to say that... That's the other thing. She also said that pole dancers started dancing on the train before the New York City subway dancers, right? And I was like, that's not true. This woman wasn't even from New York. She's from LA. So how do you know when things started, on the trains in New York? That the dudes who dance on the trains in New York, they weren't paying attention to pole classes and what people are doing in pole studios. That's not, so no, okay. So I don't like it when people try to rewrite history, which was exactly what she was doing. So when she started to do that and discredit people, and then I brought up the fact that no, like, there's a history of white people trying to take credit for black stuff, and I'm not upset with white people who want to do black dance or do study the things that black people do and also do it. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem when people try to take credit and they want to rewrite history and act like they were the first ones to do it and they invented this shit and not give props to the people that they got it from, who they often don't do it as well as. I'm not going to stand for that, And I found it really interesting that, all these people would get so mad and start attacking me because I said, this girl, and she's not, like, she was doing some moves that was hard, but it wasn't dance. It was her practicing pole tricks. It wasn't performance ready, okay? And also, being from New York, we keep it real. We're critics. This is the showbiz capital of the world. And they say if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. People say New Yorkers are mean. We're not mean. We're just real. We're just real. And you ain't good enough for certain things. You know what I'm saying? So you can't be an industry that has competitions. So you have competitions where you judge people. And you judge if people are good enough to be number 1, 2, 3. Or whether they're even good enough to compete. But when I express my opinion on that when it comes to the train, I'm doing something wrong and the whole pole world wants to attack me. Nope. So I just had to make this video about, just expressing my opinion on that. And for anybody who knows strip clubs and the strip industry, please let me know if white strippers and Asian strippers were doing all these crazy pole tricks before black strippers. Okay? Please let me know in my comments on my YouTube page. If you're on Instagram, be sure to follow me on my IG page, The Renaissance Amazon. And if you're on YouTube, be sure to follow me on IG at _Renaissance_Amazon_81. Okay? Thanks for listening, people, and have a good day. Bye.